So these women right here these are I can't really, well, you can't see it. Anyway, I've grown up with four women that have surrounded me just because I didn't have much of a motherly role model that instilled self-compassion in me. And we know, if we're all here, where that comes from, based on your own experience. So with my experience, just grew up with just not showing any compassion for myself at all. And recently I've been exposed to different things such as self-compassion research through recovery-based resources that have allowed me to explore the idea of taking a breath for myself and what that looks like. Because I just recently had a session with someone where something came through of like me being on the edge of an abyss, like unsustainable, for me to keep going the way that I'm going and having compassion without boundaries.
Yes.
So
compassion for others without boundaries, you mean?
Right.
Yes. Right. Yeah.
Not self-compassion at all. I'm just coming into that.
Yeah. So thank you, Candace. And I think you speak for many people here. So first of all, it's not to surprise you to know that, yeah, some people self-compassion comes easier to others. If we didn't have the good fortune to have parents who showed us a lot of compassion and who were there for us consistently, made us feel worthy and that our needs were worthy of being met, it is more challenging. I'm not going to lie to you. It's not impossible, but it is more challenging. So maybe just, first of all, just taking a moment to have compassion for that, right? The pain of that. Because you aren't alone, right? There's a lot of people who weren't given the nurturing and compassion that they should have been by their parents. So yeah, so it maybe comes a little less naturally for you. As you mentioned, you didn't have the role model. The really good news is you can create it yourself. So the research shows that even if it's in psychology, it's often called secure attachment. I don't know if you've heard that term, but basically when your parents were there for you, made you feel secure, you have secure attachment. If you didn't get it growing up, actually practicing self-compassion is one way that you can learn to be securely attached as an adult. In other words, you learn to ask yourself what you need. You learn to give yourself what you need. You learn to give yourself the care and the kindness that unfortunately weren't given as a child. And I can see a little pain in you. And there is a lot of grief there. I'm not going to lie. There's grief that, wow, I really wish that, a parent or this other person was there for me, but they weren't. So we can hold the pain of that, just like if a friend came to you and said, hey, Candace, this is my story. This is what happened with my parents. And you would naturally feel moved, like, oh, I'm so sorry. And you'd also have that natural desire to reach out and give them your care. And it sounds like from what you say, you're a pretty caring person. You're very good at compassion for others. This is actually the good news because you already know how to do it. You don't have to learn how to be compassionate. You don't have to go to compassion school. You know what to say, you know how to use your voice, you know how to use your body. You've learned it in practice with others. So the big shift is really just, and it's a big shift. It won't happen overnight, but the research shows without a doubt, it can be done. You can learn to start doing that for yourself. And so really, first of all, it's a matter of the first step is just giving yourself permission to try. It's a lot of it is about permission. We think that somehow we're going to be lazy or horrible people, and somehow shaming ourselves is going to make us better people. It doesn't. We know that from the research. So giving yourself permission to just try being more supportive towards yourself. And it's slow. It can be a slow process, especially if it wasn't modeled. But you can learn to make it a habit. One key is to start where you are. So sometimes people say, oh, great, Kristin, I'm not self-compassionate. Thanks for telling me one more thing I'm bad at. It's natural. But, again, start with the fact that, wow, ouch, I wasn't modeled self-compassion. That hurts. It's hard for me to do this. Allow yourself kind of to be moved by the pain. And then when you give yourself compassion, again, just remember, it's not rocket science. It's something that you already know how to do. So you just allow it to move through you inward as well as outward. So Candace, what do you feel when I say that? What thoughts come up for you when I say that? Does it feel like improbable, or do you have suspicions, and if you can unmute yourself. Thank you. I think you have to, yeah, there we go.
I kept on pressing it, but I think anyway, it doesn't matter. So just to shed light on that, what's coming through for me is whenever I just had company, and as far as that grief that you're getting, like I do feel the pain of others, and through that, I've had to carry a lot of pain in my family. To the point where, like, I've never had any kind of physical pathophysiological reason for back pain, and all of a sudden there is just, and I know that's medical, but like I've been able to intellectualize a lot of things, and this is not something that I'm capable of using intellect with, and that's what scares me. And I've been drawn to disconnect. But how do you disconnect whenever you see so much pain with people that are going through the same thing that you are, and you see it?
So one of the things, like in that practice that I taught, the breathing compassion in and out, in situations where you're feeling overwhelmed by other people's pain, sometimes the right thing to do is to almost totally focus on breathing in for yourself. It's just to stay in the game. If we just breathe out and we just give compassion out, we have nothing left to give. So it's actually helpful to others to give ourselves compassion, because actually what we know is not only does it benefit you, other people benefit by being around someone who's full of compassion. So it helps them, it helps you, right? And really giving yourself permission to do that. But also know that, compassion practice can be painful, because what happens is quite naturally we shut down just to survive. We have to shut down our hearts. And then we start to open our hearts and we start to get in touch with all that pain. So you also want to practice self-compassion self-compassionately, right? In other words, if you start feeling overwhelmed with memories or grief, pull back a little bit, like go at a pace that feels right for you, that feels like appropriate, that doesn't feel overwhelming. Don't feel like this is something I have to do, but just, just maybe, again, it's something I'm going to just, Candace, for a moment, just try putting your hands on your heart, just for a moment like this, right? You don't have to show if you don't want, but how does that feel for you?
I'm getting there. But the past couple of sessions that I've had, like whenever they have their hand on my heart and my abdomen.
Too much, huh?
It's too much.
Okay, and if it's too much, what the most caring thing to do is?
But this is okay.
To stop. Yeah, do something else.
Yeah.
It's all about asking, what do I need right now? Sometimes the thing you need to do is to stop practicing self-compassion because it's too much. And you know what you're doing when you're doing that? You're practicing self-compassion.
Yeah.
Right. So we say walk slowly, go farther. It's really setting your intention, giving yourself permission to be there for yourself. However that unfolds, it's not what you feel, it's how you relate to what you feel. This is a really important point. You may practice and you may not feel anything, or you may feel anger, or you may feel numbness. That doesn't matter. It's all about, it's your intention to give yourself what you need. And then over time, at its own pace, we can't control it, it'll start feeling more normal. It'll start feeling more habitual, and eventually it will become easier. It's like, it's not a race, so does that make sense? So you're
Oh,
on the
yeah,
right path.
perfect sense.
Yeah, and you're on the right path, Candace, and just keep going on it. You may not feel what you think you feel. You may feel the pain. If you feel too much pain, just pull back. But the really remarkable thing is it can be done. It absolutely can be done. We have a lot of research to show that. So just practice in a self-compassionate way. And thank you so much for sharing with everyone else, because I know you speak for probably a lot of people here. Thank you, Candace.